Okay, so we are back in Studio 2 with a new video. Thank you for watching. Yeah, today I'm just gonna pull up some cool drum sounds that I did. It was done with a friend of mine, ZIkko. He's also an artist. I'll put his details down in the description. And yeah, what we did some cool recording the cymbals and then recording the actual drums separately. I tracked it in Pro Tools, did some mixing in Pro Tools. I've done this a while ago, so I was still getting used to working in Pro Tools. So some of the routing decisions weren't very great. So if you work in Pro Tools, you're going to be annoyed by how I did this. Trust me, I can do a better job nowadays. This was done mostly one-takers, so there's going to be some little mistakes in there. It's just mostly for purpose of showing what you can do with recording parts separately. I'll explain you a bit the thought process behind it. Mostly it was just me and ZIkko just messing around with miking techniques. There are close mics, but for instance, there's no tom mics. A lot of the stuff is mic from a distance and just processed differently than I would normally do, and it's just a very interesting experience. There's no samples. This is just all different processing of different ways of processing the tracks to make them sound interesting. So no drum samples or whatever. So we have the actual drums. Like I said, we tracked cymbals separately from the shells. So these are just the shells. We did a kick in. I think it was a D112, a sub kick. It's and a stand speaker, and then wired in reverse. You can turn a speaker into a microphone by wiring in reverse, and then you just plug it in. So on snare we have a C451. It's a small diaphragm condenser mic. We taped headphones to the side of the snare drum. That's my snare drum. It's a Ludwig super light, 14 by 6.5. So we have the kit mics, the overhead sender, overheads, and we have overheads high. So the overheads high are mostly for more ambience, just getting the brightness of, for instance, cymbals, or just have the toms and the snare, just a further away sound from it. And then the close mics, or the closer overheads with the sender overhead, just because it's really there to nail down that sender image, because we're relying on the pair this pair, but we're relying on those as tom mics. We have left, we have right, and they're set up in a different way so that they're a bit further away from the kit, but we're not tracking cymbals, so we can push everything up, and then we have more body of the toms, and that's what a drum kit sounds like if you're standing in front of it. It's a more natural way of you're standing next to the drum kit. Raw. Obviously, it's quieter, but just. We tracked kick and snare through the 1073 preamp or 1081, an external preamp. Okay, so that's like the raw. So this is a sub kick. it's a sub kick. It does subby stuff, but it was like normally you would place the sub kick like right up front to the kick drum. But I was like, okay, what if you just push it back and then have it there? Obviously, you're gonna have a timing difference between like the kick in and the kick out because you're like further away. Perfectly in phase is nice, but keep in mind that doesn't make it the way. Like you can have stuff not be perfectly aligned and it sounds different, and maybe it sounds cooler than if it was like perfectly in phase with each other. Yeah, you can hear the kick in there. That's fine because I want to have that resonance of the kick. I just wanted it to be very organic, and I can keep the gate open because there's no hi-hat bleed, so you don't have like the hi-hat splat of like pss, 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 and that's cool. This is a really cool sound because it's headphones taped to the side. Again, same like a sub kick. It's just like headphones. You can plug them in. I think we plugged them into a DI box and then send it into the Apollo. But yeah, we taped it to the side of the snare drum and it gets like a really, really crappy sound. But then you can go like absolutely crazy. And normally if you tape it to the side, you have a lot of hi-hat, like a side snare. If you do it like when you're like in a normal tracking situation where you're tracking drums all at once, so with cymbals in there, it gets a lot of cymbal, a lot of hi-hat when you tape the headphones on there. So in that scenario, I don't like it. But if you track everything separately, I do really like it. And this is what it sounds like. So we have the kit mics. Just to be clear, these are just the free mics. There's no like kick snare or anything added. So yeah, that's a pretty cool sound, like pretty complete sounding drum sound. You can hear like the kick isn't completely centered and stuff, and it's not the widest sound ever, but I do like it. I think it's a very interesting sound just from like kit mics, like overhead mics, essentially. And then if I turn off all the processing. See, it's essentially in there. It just sounds very dull. And I can brighten everything up again because there's no cymbals. Then we have the overheads, the actual overheads. So these are like up higher. And if I turn off the processing. It's like there's a blanket all over it. And this is of course very bright now, but it's all in context. Like in context of like the general drum sound, it does work. I would be crying if there would be cymbals on this track, because that's a 16 dB boost at 9.5K. And that would be no fun if you have cymbals in there. Unless you recorded it really crappy and really dark. That would not be a fun experience for your ears. Wait, let me check. Okay, so I muted the overhead left and right because it wasn't doing it for me. So it's just the high overheads and the center overhead. I made it a little bit darker now because I didn't mix it here. I mixed it somewhere else. And now that I'm listening here, I can hear like a lot of brightness. So I tamed it down a little with the shelf. Again, 7 dB. So it sounds weird because it sounds like as if you're like programming using a drum program, MIDI drums, and then you solo up the overheads. But no, this is actually like ZIkko playing just the cymbals. Yeah, for a drummer, it's like really like weird to play without like playing the whole kit. Cymbals are a lot easier. What we did is like we grabbed my sweater and put it on the hi-hat and like try to dampen it as much as we could. Because normally what we would do, or what I wanted to do, digital drum hi-hat, so the pads, just so that you can have something to hit. Because there's a little of the hi-hat in the drum mics. But it's not to the extent that it's bothering us, but that it was bothering us. But in an ideal situation, I would grab like the electronic kit, cymbals and pads, so that he could have something to hit, because it feels unnatural just to play kick and snare and toms and not hit the hi-hat. But yeah, it's again, it's an experiment. You know, we were just messing around with cool sounds. The processing, you can see like a lot of it is like similar plugins that I'm using. Like most of it is either Pro Q4, SSL, or Saturn, and then something from the effects rack. And from the effects rack, it's mostly Decapitator and like Double Lock, because it just sounds cool. And that's how I get my drums to sound a bit louder and punchier and stuff. And don't overthink it. Like if I'm mixing, you will see me use these plugins like 90% of the time. And I'm not like, oh, I need that Neve sound. Oh, I need this. I need that. No, I just need an EQ. Okay, I need to turn up the bass. Okay, there's the SSL. Here we go. Bass. Cool. A little more like this. Oh no, it's too muddy. Okay, let me put in a bell, more or less. Okay, done. Less mid-range, more high-end. You know, just I like to keep it as simple as possible, and that's why I like the SL. It just works. It keeps me from like going very specific for things that don't matter, because it's like still, you can be very surgical with an SSL, and also it feels wrong to have an SSL plugin when the SSL console is here, but whatever. Pick an EQ that works for you and just work with that. And then what I usually have is like, if I'm like EQing a kick drum, so for instance, this kick in and kick out, there's the SSL, the Pro Q4, and Decapitator. That's it. That's usually what I do. Like I have the SSL for the sound, in the sense of like doing big EQ moves. And then if something is bothering me and I don't have enough bands on the SSL anymore, or I need to be very, very specific, that's when I pull out the Pro Q4. To do like very tiny moves like this. And yeah, and then after that, it's just all like flavor. So effects rack, I use effects rack because it has all, I mean, I got it for a cheap deal. That's why I use it. Otherwise I would just pull up the Decapitator. And it looks nicer if you have like not a lot of plugins on there. I come from Logic. So what I usually do is, and I could have done it here, but like an idiot, I made it very not organized, or as organized as I would like. But hey, I was still learning Pro Tools. Now I'm a lot better. I think. I have the kick in and the sub, and they go to a bus, and that kick bus goes to the drum bus. So I can process the kick drum like as a whole, like kick in and a kick sub, or a kick in and a kick out as one thing. Because then I'll probably see, I have Radiator, so both those mics are going through Radiator, and they get some more EQ things done. And then I'll clip it a little bit, just to keep the peaks down, and then I can push it up louder and have a louder mix. So raw. I cannot express my love enough for Saturn. What I usually do, now I did old tape because I thought it was like too bright, I think. I mean, again, it's a while ago. Normally I just saturate the high end with the worn tape because it just sounds a lot brighter without being harsh, like unless you like turn it all the way up and then it starts to sound weird or whatever. It's a multi-band distortion or multi-band saturator. I just love Saturn. It makes my life easier, and it just sounds so good. You should buy Saturn. FabFilter, if you're seeing this, sponsor me. I'll preach my love for your plugins. I am in love with Saturn and Pro Q4. So this is what the SSL EQ does. And there's some weird stuff going on with the gating, so it craps out a little. Again, it's just for showing off. So it's not going to be perfect, but and most of the time with a kick drum and also for toms, if you, in my opinion, if you cut out like the low mids or that annoying mid range for toms or kick, like anywhere from like 300 to 800, 900 maybe, but that's pushing it. I think just depends on the kick drum. But if you take out those annoying low mids, it cleans up your kick sound. It pushes, because then there's more room for the high end and the low end to shine, because you're taking out the mids, the low mids, the muddiness. And then you take out the mud, because the muddiness is like it's muddying up the other sounds. And if you take it out, then all the other sounds come forward. And you can tell, like I could turn this off. See how that is out there? Like if I take it out, all I've done is take it out and then do a little boost of 2 dB at 8. Okay, that's pretty much the EQing I've done with the SSL. And you can see like I'm just in a kick drum, dump out 15 dB. I don't care. I'll sometimes dump out more or less. It depends, but yeah, you don't, in my opinion, you don't need that on a kick-in mic. That's just muddying and it takes away from the punch. And then I compress it and use the gate. Free to 6 dB. I usually don't compress it a lot more. It's like slow attack, fast release, 3:1 ratio, whatever, maxed it out, or you could push it in there and get more compression. And the gate, I feel that the SSL gate, there's a tipping point. I feel that where it messes with the transient in a nice way to where it has more of a ticky attack. So yeah, try that out with the SSL. I mean, I have the console here, but you know what? I'm going to shoot a video showing you what the SSL does, like a channel strip, a real SSL. But for now, we'll just use this plugin. And I like this plugin. Just experiment, put on, it doesn't have to be the Waves one, can be any. But there's a certain tick that the gate of the SSL gives when you push it. Like have it at a maximum where you're almost cutting out the kick drum entirely and then push it back low and then it ding, 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 makes it. And I get it very tightly and then compress it. And then I took some low mids. I actually like it better in solo without this, but I'm guessing in contacts it sounds better. And then I'm distorting the fuck out of it. Usually this, you see like Saturn, SSL, Pro Q, and Effects Rack. This is not like I started with the Saturn and then the SSL. Like I probably started with the SSL and then thought, okay, you could use some Saturn. I put it before it, and then I put that Effects Rack on there. Oh wait, it sounds a little crappy. Okay, let me take it out before it goes into the Effects Rack, and that's how it ended up at this point. I mean, it's heavy saturate, heavy saturate. No, it's not too heavy actually. Yeah, the decapitator is doing some saturation, and the Devil Lock is like, it's like a PA compressor. From what I remember, it's like an old time. Like it's just very distorted, very hyper compressed. It's a limiter because it comes from the Shure Level Lock, if I'm not mistaken. It really puts the punch in there, and then that goes. pushing up the 50 hertz. Like I think it's around the fundamental. And I can see I'm ducking out the snare a little more here. Time adjusting so that it lines up nicely with the, lines up nicely with the phase, or it just sounds cooler. Or it has to do with like the phase of the snare, because there's also a little snare in there. And then I gate it to make it a little tighter with standard gate. Standard gate is a really good gate, and it's relatively cheap. I mean, you're not going to hear it on phone, so I'm going to play it. And if you play it like through your phone, you're probably not going to hear a lot, and you're just going to see me staring at my screen and be like, yeah. It's a sub kick. That goes into radiator, take out some annoying frequencies, I guess. And then I clip it. And that sounds nice. So I'm gonna just turn on the bus processing. So everything is gonna go through the bus processing, because otherwise I have to turn it on and off every single time I want to show you something. So I'll just tell you, just keep that in mind. This is a free SSL compressor, bus compressor, the Buster, and I actually really like it. And that goes into the Studer in some tape. I think I'm pushing it quite hard. I am pushing it quite hard. And then into the lo-fi. Yeah, I think I did that just to push up more like resonance of the kit, to feel more like the drum kit is resonating in front of you after you hit a kick or a snare or whatever, just to bring up all the ambience. This is the snare top, so it was like a small diaphragm condenser. Normally I don't do that on the snare drum. I feel that the brightness, I do like the sound of it actually a lot, but the downside of it is just the hi-hat bleed. If you're recording like a normal setup, where the drummer is playing the kit entirely, I can't stand snare or hi-hat bleed on the snare. I don't like it. And with a small diaphragm condenser, you're gonna have more of that in there. So I usually go for dynamics, but I like an M201 by Bayer Dynamic. I call it a SM57 on steroids. Place it to your advantage of the polar pattern. You'll have less hi-hat in there, and it has more top end. It feels like it's in between a 57 and like a small diaphragm condenser. It's like somewhere in between there, but it is a dynamic. Very snappy, very aggressive. So let me take it all off. Again, Saturn. It also goes through, so again, it goes to snare bus, which has more compression. I don't know why I was like, oh, let's try I like the sound of the SSL bus compressor, and let's try that on snare, and it sounds cool. So it goes from that bus compressor to the actual drum bus compressor. Gets clipped, and then I flip it out of phase because it's apparently out of phase with the overheads or whatever. Yeah, we have Saturn. You can see I turn down the dynamics and I turn up the brightness. And this is a little tip for you. If you use Saturn and put the high band on there and turn on the dynamics to up 1K or whatever, from 1K, I did it here. Yeah, 1.5. If you turn on the dynamics, you can turn down the hi-hat bleed a little. Or you could completely get rid of it. But yeah, like I said, I hate hi-hat bleed in the snare mic. There's no hi-hat here. I just saturate it and turn down the dynamics. Then you have a brighter snare and less hi-hat bleed. No compression yet. I mean, I can turn this. Here we go. That's just me turning on Saturn. So it feels more compressed because it's probably like tape compression. and saturate, it just feels more punchy. So we have like warm tape on the high end, warm tape here, and warm tape here. Do keep in mind that you sometimes have to flip the linear phase because you're using, it's a multi-band, so it's gonna fuck with the phase. So you sometimes want to like flip the linear phase in context of the rest of the mics because it can mess with the phase relatively to your other microphones. So yeah, Saturn 2. I'm guessing I did a lot of high end. I think like I have my high band just set up by default at 8K. I think these are the standard settings. And I just like, oh, I need more high end. Let's turn it up. And it sounded good. If it didn't sound good, I would move it around. But 8K apparently sounded good. And then a lot more aggressive mids. Took out some more low end because we already have some low end from the kick from the kick mic coming through. Like you have the snare also in there, some with the sub, and this fills it out a little nicer, I think. There was no need for all that body because it's like it's all additive. So on the overheads, there's also a lot of body. So I don't rely on the snare close mic to get all that body. Compressed the crap out of it with 5:1 ratio, took a low end, took a low shell, whatever. I made it sound cool. I made it sound aggressive because I'm a very aggressive person. Tightened it up, probably some resonant frequency that got amplified when I started distorting it. Yes, I did distort it quite a lot. So we have the decapitator radiator and the devil lock on there. Keep in mind, you see these settings, right? If you would copy these settings and put this on your snare or just from the decapitator or just from the radiator, you're not going to get the same sound that I have here. Why not? It's a different snare, it's a different performance, it's a different mic that you use. Even if you use the same one, the snare is tuned differently, it's a different drummer. Copying settings from like EQ, distortion, compressor, whatever, that's not a thing. Like you can do it and you will get globally kind of the same sound, but you're better off just starting with the default settings and then finding your sound. Because copying sound, that doesn't work. That's not a thing. Like you can put salt. Okay, let me give you like an example. You can put salt on an egg and it'll taste nice. The person who puts salt on your egg, like, oh, what kind of salt is that? It's like, oh yeah, it's Himalayan salt, and then put this amount of it on your egg. Like, oh wow, okay. And then you take, you buy that and you do the exact same thing, and then you put it on yogurt, and it tastes awful because it's a different thing that you're putting it on. You know that. It's not going to sound the same. So there's no point in like buying EQ preset, buying compression presets. It's stupid. Don't do that. Don't buy that shit. Do your own thing. Start messing with EQ until it sounds cool. Don't buy EQ presets or anything like that, or copy EQ presets that you see a mixer do. Don't do it. Just don't do it. You can hear the kick come in there, so that gives a little more ambience for the kick mic. You can hear the hi-hat a little in there, and that's what we had to deal with. We didn't have pads, whatever. Because if I play this drum sound, it sounds like there's a clap sample in there, but there's not. That's not a clap. Like I said, there's no samples. It's the headphone taped to the side of the snare drum. And it sounds like garbage on its own. But, as I told you, you have to hear everything in context. You're mixing in context of the song, of the sound, of the global thing that you're doing. So if it sounds crappy by itself, that's okay if it sounds cool in the mix. You'll be amazed like how crappy sometimes snare drums sound on their own. But then you turn it up with everything else and it's like, oh yeah, now it makes sense why you took out all that low end or why you added so much low end to it. But yeah, these are the headphones. So this is without any processing. I mean, yeah, it's a lot quieter, but it sounds like you have like an iPhone, the first iPhone, you're recording with it and it distorts and it sounds, whoa, I just recorded a snare drum with my iPhone, you know? It's very lo-fi, but that's cool. Hi-fi isn't necessarily always the cool thing. Like, yeah, I tend to go for a hi-fi sound, but you can make lo-fi sounding things still, how to say this, like lo-fi sources makes, you can make them sound good and like nice, and it still sounds hi-fi, but the character is lo-fi. That's where the clap sounds come from. Pushing that mid-range 12 dBs with the old tape saturation, worm tape, old tape, pushed up, and then it sounds kind of like a clap, kind of like a clap stack, actually. With an 1176, and we actually have the real deal here. I used the plugin because I was mixing at home. Brighten it! I brighten it more! Why not put 16 dB of 2K on there? Because we can, because there's no cymbal bleed. Okay, that's also like enhancing the clap type sound. So this is just a snare. I find that to be a unique drum sound. This is a snare, but it sounds like kind of like a clap, but not really. You should go for unique drum sounds as well. Or sometimes you don't. And that's fine too. Kit mics. You can hear the kick is a little more on the right. Yeah, so I panned the sender overhead more to the left, and then the overhead left and right to the right. And if I remember correctly, I'll pull up the video. It's near the tom, and the other one is also near the floor tom, but it's quite far away. And then I have the overhead on the center, and I think that was like a fat ribbon mic, which is a cheap ribbon mic, by the way. It's the one from Thomann. RB500. Looks very cool, very fancy. It's like 99 euros. So buy that because it's just cheap. It's a ribbon. It's not the greatest, but it's like you can get a cool sound with it. So let me just pull up the overhead center. I mean, for one mic, that's pretty good. And then we have the overheads. Really put some more body onto that rack tom. So let's see what I did. This looks horrendous, I know, but trust me, it makes a difference. As you can see, I automated the EQ to bump up the fundamental frequency of the rack tom and the floor tom at only the times that they're playing. That's a lot of work if you're gonna do it for a whole track, but trust me, it's worth it. Makes it so that you don't have the rack tom resonating throughout the whole song. It just comes up when you're playing the rack tom. And I tried it with dynamic EQ, but sometimes it still triggers from the snare or whatever, a little from the kick, whatever. You could probably make it work, but this is way more accurate. Boost some crazy high end because I can, and it brings out nicely the brightness of the shells and stuff. And there's no cymbals, and just take out some low mids or some sub. I know it's not the most fun job to automate EQs, but the end result is really, really cool because these are not closed mic toms. These are further away, and then you push up the resonant frequency of their, like the fundamental of the tom, and then you have body, and it sounds cool. It sounds like Queens of the Stone Age, but my take is a little more modern. And then we have Saturn. Hey, it brings out some low end. And then I have some SPL to tighten it up a little. because it sounds nice on its own. Like you can do crazy stuff. Like check this out. But for this sound, I was going for like very, very tight. I know it sounds cooler if you push it all the way up to sustain, but in context, this works better. We have the overheads. Can't remember what they were. I'm thinking it was like a C414. Yeah, I'm just triggering this 2K band from the snare. So yeah, that's the close mics or the kit mics. So it's the sender overhead and the overheads high. That's it. It's just a pair of overheads. Nothing else sounded cool or worked for the sound. So I just kept these and deleted all the other mics. Ridiculous EQ moves that look very ugly and like I don't have a clue what I'm doing. But there was a very annoying resonant frequency in there. I don't know why it's in there. I took it out and I solved the problem. Compressing it. He did play a clap stack in there. I knew it. That's so funny. He was so happy playing his new cymbals. I'm compressing it to get more sustain, more equal in terms of dynamics. But mostly it's just get more resonance and sustain out of the cymbals. And then I'm pushing that heavily into tape. Transient designer to take off some of the attack. I recorded some crappy guitars at home because I wanted to see, and it's just, here it is. And it's not even, I think it's just one, and then I put it out of phase and delayed it so that it sounds stereo, but it's one guitar performance and it's not gonna convert to mono very well. Yeah, that's just me doing a one take and improvising on guitar. It exists. It's something I came up with on the spot just to mess around. So yeah, that's ZIkko playing. He's like a multi-instrumentalist. He's like crazy good at like playing guitar. He can play bass. He sings. He plays drums. Like he can do anything. He's like Prince. Yeah, I mean, we were like, oh, let's mess around with drum sounds. And I wanted to do some Queens of the Stone Age type recording. Something that I haven't done before, so it was like kind of interesting. I would have like done some more automation on the kick to have the gate trigger better, because in the beginning it triggers a bit shitty. But whatever. Again, it's mostly one takes. So yeah, I hope you guys like it. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll try to respond to any of your questions. Maybe if you have some ideas for other videos, I'd love to make another video and help people out. Yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.